This is 9 News.
Good morning. We begin in Indonesia, where locals are desperately searching through debris in the aftermath of Saturday's shock tsunami. 222 people have been killed and nearly 900 have been injured. But authorities expect that to rise as rescue workers continue looking for survivors. Nine's Jacqueline Robson filed this report from Java.
Homes torn from the inside out, cars buried in rubble and boats flipped. This is just the beginning for Indonesians who will be picking up the pieces over Christmas. Authorities in the meantime are searching for any sign of survivors, with fears the death toll could rise with many villages still cut off. It was around 9:20 on Saturday night when the 5-metre waves came crashing, leaving locals caught off guard. One survivor was simply watching television at home. I heard a rumbling sound and I thought it was the wind. After I opened the door, water came in quickly and dragged me out. Although not yet confirmed, all signs point to the Antarctic volcano, which may have triggered underwater landslides, and it might not be over yet. The potential for a fresh tsunami is still possible because the volcanic eruption of Antarctic continues to occur. Aid agencies are on the ground setting up makeshift shelters in a routine they're unfortunately familiar with. Jacqueline Robson, 9 News.
Accused wife killer Kris Dawson could be home for Christmas. On Friday, a court rejected paperwork needed for his bail conditions because of a missing document. His lawyer is hopeful he'll be released from Silverwater jail today.
Gone to a lot of trouble and a lot of effort. I went to Coolangatta to meet with Susan to get all the documents that she had, and was stuck on the tarmac for 7.5 hours. In any event, hopefully he'll get bail today. He should get bail.
Kris Dawson, who was charged with murdering his former wife Lynette Dawson, was granted bail a week ago. 2 people are being questioned by police after a man's body was found at a house in Melbourne's west overnight. As Sam Cucciari reports, neighbours say they heard a screaming fight earlier in the evening.
This home behind me in Altona remains a crime scene, with forensic police continuing to search for clues. It was just before 11:30 last night when police discovered a man's body inside the home. Neighbours have told 9 News there'd been some sort of an argument there immediately prior between a woman and 2 men. Homicide squad detectives are remaining tight-lipped on exactly how the victim died and the injuries he suffered, but we have seen a significant amount of blood on the front door as well as damage inside the home. The property and the adjoining unit are covered in security cameras, and they're now likely to form a critical part of the police investigation as detectives work to determine whether they may have recorded a murder. A man and a woman have spent the night being quizzed by detectives, but so far no charges have been laid.
A suspicious fire has sparked a police investigation in Melbourne's southeast after causing significant damage to a house in Caulfield last night. Flames took hold of the roof of the unoccupied property in the early hours of this morning. Anyone with information is urged to contact police. A British couple arrested over an incident which brought London's Gatwick airport to a standstill have been released without charge. They had been accused of flying drones dangerously close to the airport, but police in Britain say the reported drone may never have existed, with officers relying on eyewitness accounts. The incident delayed 200,000 passengers. Trump has jumped the gun and named a new defence chief 2 months before outgoing Secretary James Mattis was due to leave his post. The political snub comes after the general's criticism of the president's removal of troops from Syria. The Deputy Defence Secretary, Patrick Shanahan, will take over in the role beginning on the 1st of January. And following on from Jim Mattis' resignation, members of the US Congress have written to our ambassador Joe Hockey, reaffirming the relationships between the 2 countries. Our political reporter Jonathan Kersley joins us now from Canberra with more. Jonathan, what can you tell us?
Vanessa, this was reportedly a letter from 21 members of Congress sent to Australia's ambassador in the US, former Treasurer Joe Hockey, in what appears to be an effort to reach out to the Australian government after the resignation of Defence Secretary Jim Mattis. Mattis resigned after President Trump decided to pull troops out of Syria, a decision that's concerned governments in many Western nations and some representatives in the US Congress. The letter to Mr Hockey says, and I quote, "We write to you to reaffirm our commitment to the enduring alliance between the United States and Australia. Moving forward, we want to extend our deep and sincere commitment to maintain America's special bond and alliance with your country." Prime Minister Scott Morrison said yesterday the government is in talks with the US following the President's decision to withdraw troops in Syria. Mr Morrison reaffirmed Australia's commitment to keep a presence in the Middle East more generally, but he also has a concern about a threat Australian foreign fighters could pose back home. 27 arrest warrants have been issued by the Australian Federal Police. That number is up on last year, indicating the number of Australians fighting with groups in Iraq and Syria is also rising. Vanessa?
Jonathan, we'll leave it there. Thank you. A man will face court today after allegedly threatening staff with a shotgun at a Wollongong chemist overnight. The 27-year-old is accused of striking a worker in the face with the gun before stealing cash and drugs from the Dapto pharmacy. He was arrested a short time later and charged with armed robbery and aggravated assault. There's been a horrible accident in the New South Wales Southern Highlands where a 4-year-old girl has been kicked in the face by a horse. The little girl has suffered significant facial fractures at the property in Glenquarry. She's been flown to the Children's Hospital at Westmead for treatment. Queensland could soon become Australia's #1 ziplining destination with 2 new rigs proposed for the Sunshine State. For more on this, Ebony Cavallaro joins us from the newsroom. Ebony, where will the new ziplines be built?
Well, the first one is proposed to go from Brisbane CBD from the new Queen's Wharf development over to Southbank. It would cross the Brisbane River and be quite a spectacle for people to enjoy. Now, the Star Group has confirmed this morning that they are looking at trying to incorporate a zipline into their plans for Queen's Wharf, and they're hoping that it could be opened at the same time as the development in 2022, so just a few years away. They've said it's still in the conceptual stages, but it's something they believe could absolutely be achieved. The other one would go from the casino on the Gold Coast to perhaps Kurrawa Beach. That is also a consideration that they are doing, but will it get up in Queensland is the real question, because right now there is a proposal for a zip line happening at Mount Cootha, and residents here in the area have submitted several objections to that proposal, and Brisbane City Council right now has the difficult task of going through all of those submissions before deciding whether they believe a zip line should go ahead in Brisbane at all.
Certainly a bucket list thing to do if it goes ahead. Thanks, Ebony. In the news ahead, the foods that could cause a blood clot, are they on your Christmas menu? Time's ticking, the shopping scramble as thousands rush to pick up last-minute gifts and the all-important seafood. And is Santa about to leave the North Pole? We have the very latest from Air Traffic Control on the man in red. Banks have reportedly turned snoops going through customers' transactions to try to catch out potential lies before approving loans. In the wake of the Royal Commission, mortgage brokers say they're being asked to provide double the amount of documents on customers compared with just 2 years ago. One customer has been quizzed about whether he had a pet, while a woman has been asked if she was pregnant after spending money at baby shops. There's a health warning this morning for those taking blood thinners, with experts warning too many leafy vegetables this festive season could be potentially dangerous. Paris Martin explains.
Today is the day many families are filling up their fridges, getting all the ingredients ready for their Christmas recipes. But health experts are warning that for people on blood thinning medication, there are certain festive foods to avoid. Vitamin K causes the blood to thicken, while about 100 micrograms is fine for most. 150 could cause problems for those on thinners. There's roughly 500 micrograms in just half a cup of cooked kale, collard greens or spinach, 150 for the same amount of Brussels sprouts. Now, a patient's dosage will normally accommodate for their regular diet, but with families serving their loved ones something a bit special over the silly season, things like cooked spinach and feta pies, kale salads, it could be something to avoid consuming too much of. Nutritionists say the key over the silly season is to enjoy all the foods you love. However, be cautious of your portions, meaning they shouldn't be eating too many of these foods which are high in vitamin K if they are at risk because they are on blood thinners. So while the silly season is the perfect time to get creative in the kitchen, for those on blood thinners, vitamin K is something to be careful of.
Elon Musk's SpaceX has successfully launched a military satellite into orbit after several technical and weather delays. The Falcon 9 rocket was carrying a military navigation satellite worth around $500 million. The launch marks the company's first national security space mission for the US government. And while you might think a marathon is hard enough as it is, 57 athletes have completed the event in minus 20-degree temperatures. 57 athletes took part in the Antarctic ice marathon near the South Pole, with competitors running 2 laps around the Union Glacier Exploration Camp. Food and drink stations were provided to help runners along the way. Shopping centres across the country are buzzing with activity as shoppers scramble to pick up last-minute gifts for Christmas. Nine's Tim Davies joins us from Pitt Street Mall in Sydney. And Tim, how is it down there?
Oh, Vanessa, good morning to you. Yeah, it's not too bad down here for anyone that may not have finished or perhaps even started their Christmas shopping list. Down here in Pitt Street Mall, the centre of Sydney, as you say, it is rather cool, calm and collected, I have to admit. The crowd seem to be coming in waves here this morning. A lot of the shoppers that we've spoken to are telling me that they're simply finishing off their shopping list there, which they started some time ago. Lots of people this morning admitting that they did a lot of their Christmas shopping online this year, but it seems that there's always one or two little things that you need to pick up. And today down here in Pitt Street Mall, we've got some Christmas carols happening. So there's a great Festivus vibe down here in the centre of Sydney. Lots of people running in and out, grabbing those last-minute items. The crowds, as I say, not too bad. There we go. Some very happy Christmas shoppers down here this morning. But it's not just the gifts that everyone is trying to finish off this year. Of course, now begins the food preparation for that massive feast that many will enjoy tomorrow. So we've seen some amazing crowds down at the Sydney fish markets this morning. Take a look at these pictures of the traffic trying to get down into there. The Sydney fish market's underway into their 36-hour trading, and it's an absolute blitz down there at the moment. They will close the doors at 5 p.m. this evening for anyone that hasn't been able to get down there yet and pick up their seafood feast. Also down in Melbourne this morning, we've seen the South Melbourne market absolutely smashed with people trying to get in nice and early, get what they need and get out and try and enjoy some of this beautiful weather that we're experiencing right up and down the East Coast. So take a listen to what we've seen some people experiencing this morning down at South Melbourne.
The morning was actually nuts, so it sort of started a little bit slow, but then all of a sudden by about 6 o'clock it just went boom.
So now that the Christmas shopping is almost done, begins the day of relaxation tomorrow for many people, a day off, but that shopping experience is going to begin once again on Wednesday when we see the Boxing Day sales kick off nice and early in some of those major department stores. And we're getting a bit of an insight in just how much we're expected to spend, more than $18 billion right across Australia come the Boxing Day sales. So anything that perhaps you don't pick up here ahead of Christmas tomorrow, I'm sure you'll be able to get on Boxing Day. Vanessa?
And Tim, I'm sure you've got some last-minute gifts to grab, so we'll let you go and enjoy. Thank you. While the country's major supermarkets will also be closed tomorrow, some independent groceries and corner stores may be open if you're missing a key ingredient for your Christmas lunch. Most chemists and petrol stations will also be open, and public transport will be running on special timetables. If you're looking for something to do tomorrow, why not get out of the house and amongst the animals, with Taronga Zoo in Sydney and Melbourne Zoo both open on Christmas Day. Some cinemas will also be operating for those looking to escape the heat and catch the Boxing Day releases early. Meanwhile, final preparations are underway in the North Pole for Santa's big journey across the world tonight. Air traffic authorities say he'll stop past the Pacific Islands and New Zealand first before zigzagging across Australia.
The controllers have got everything organised. His flight path has been cleared for him, so we don't anticipate any interruptions for Santa tonight.
There's no delays expected for the magical sleigh as long as everyone gets to bed nice and early. How many lights does it take to turn a home into a Christmas wonderland? For one man, it seems the number is 4 million. A Croatian man has transformed his family's country estate into a festive theme park for an estimated 130,000 visitors over the holidays. The idea grew from a childhood dream. The man had grown up in poverty and couldn't afford Christmas lights. Well, it's not every day you see 2,000 Santas in the one place, but this event was all in the name of charity. Running 10 kilometres, these men and women in red suits brought plenty of Christmas cheer to Moscow. With only one sleep remaining until the big day, we're sure Santa didn't mind the spotlight taken off him for a bit. And ahead of her annual Christmas message, Buckingham Palace has released a new portrait of the Queen. Her Majesty is pictured in a very festive-looking white drawing room, and looking closely, that's the Queen with Prince Philip and bouncing baby Prince Charles in a black and white photo on the desk, taken all the way back in 1948. We go to sports now with Mike Lorrigan. It's good morning.
Very good morning to you, Vanessa. Coming up in sport, from the hospital to star of the show, how Dan Christian pulled off the ultimate recovery. Also, Tim Payne opens up about the captain's battle ahead of the Boxing Day test. Plus, raining goals. Tottenham and Everton play out the highest scoring match of the season. We start with the Big Bash, and not even a bad bout of food poisoning could stop T20 journeyman Dan Christian from guiding his Renegades to victory against Adelaide. The all-rounder was admitted to hospital just hours before smashing 49 runs from 27 balls in Melbourne's 5-wicket win, his side chasing the Strikers' 174.
Dodgy prawn last night and woke up about 4 o'clock this morning, pretty crook with a bit of vomiting, diarrhoea and whatever. So, yeah, about 8 o'clock this morning, just ducked into hospital and had a jab and got some saline and then sort of slept all afternoon and, yeah, came up all right.
Tonight, Hobart face the Melbourne Stars, and then it's the Sydney smash between the Thunder and Sixers. Test captain Tim Payne says he's relishing the on-field battle with Virat Kohli. The two skippers clashed several times during the first two tests, but Payne admits he admires the way Kohli carries himself and plays the game. The Australian side will celebrate Christmas Day with the traditional team and family get-together in Melbourne. The series is level at 1-1. The Central Coast Mariners remain winless this season after going down to the Newcastle Jets 2-1 in an intense F3 derby. It's now 303 days since Mike Mulvey's side last won an A-League match. There were an incredible 8 goals scored between Tottenham and Everton this morning. Harry Kane netting a double in the Spurs' 6-2 victory. It's the highest scoring match of the season so far. And in the NBL, Illawarra has handed the Wildcats a 4th straight NBL loss. The Hawks clawed their way back into the contest, down by 15 points at one stage to win 81-77. Vanessa, what a gutsy win from Illawarra.
Certainly a great win there, Mike. Thank you.
That's it. We'll have a bit more sport a little later.
Certainly will. Thank you, Mike. Still to come, finance and the latest weather. And now for the weather on this Christmas Eve. There's mostly clear skies across the southeast of Australia and through the interior on the satellite due to a firm high pressure ridge. There is some middle and high level cloud coming from the central Queensland coast across the Coral Sea. Around the country today, a few clouds in Brisbane, 28 degrees, sunny in Sydney, 26 degrees, more sunshine and 30 for Canberra. It's a hot day in Melbourne, 34 degrees and a top of 30 in Hobart. Adelaide, a hot day as well, 34 degrees, similar conditions in Perth, and Darwin heading for a top of 34 with a possible storm. For Christmas Day, mostly sunny and 29 degrees in Brisbane. Sunshine for Sydney, 29 degrees. Canberra looking at a top of 33. Clear skies for Melbourne, 26, and a few clouds with 22 in Hobart. Adelaide heading for a top of 35 degrees. Sunny, the same in Perth, and 34 degrees in Darwin with showers and maybe a storm. Let's look ahead to Boxing Day now. 29 degrees atop in Brisbane and Sydney. Canberra heading for a very hot day, 35 degrees, becoming sunny, and 26 in Melbourne and a top of 20 for Hobart. 35 degrees and sunny in Adelaide. Perth, partly cloudy, you're heading for a top of 28, and 33 in Darwin with a storm likely. Finance now, and the All Ords up 6.8 points in early trade, and the Aussie dollar is fetching 68 US cents, 78.3 Japanese yen and 56 British pence. And that's 9's morning news. Belinda Russell will be here at 3 p.m. with 9 News Now, and then we'll have a look at your afternoon bulletin at 4 o'clock. I'm Vanessa. Thanks for your company.